time thing is you have to win.
Ill intent, violence, physicality, pain. Enough is enough.
All right, welcome back to the Just Win podcast. We are coming at you guys live after the Raiders beat the Jaguars 19-14. That's Tashan Reed. That's Vic Tafer. I'm Ted Wynn. They were at the game. How was the mood of the locker room like? Were they like sad that the tank, the number one pick candidacy might be over, or were they happy that they won?
Yeah, they were devastated that they won the game. Asshole. Owner Mark Davis was in there celebrating with the guys, playing some music. Some players were dancing. Mark was clapping and chatting it up with AJ Cole and Daniel Carlson when I went in there, and he's talking to everybody, man. I saw him dap up Carter Bradley. I was surprised he knew who Carter Bradley was, but he's in a good mood, telling the guys to keep fighting, bouncing around the room. Antonio Pierce in a much better mood this week. Players are happy. Can't say I'm surprised. I mean, we've talked about it, but teams don't actually tank. Like maybe the Giants are. Maybe that's the only team in the NFL that's actually tanking right now, but I don't think any other team is, and the Raiders clearly weren't. Antonio Pierce is in a position to intentionally lose, and a lot of these players, because of the injuries they've had and just the way the roster is structured, I mean, these guys on one-year deals and rookie contracts. Like those guys are still trying to get their money up, so they always have something to play for. So pretty excited locker room coming off beating the Jaguars 19-14. It was a ugly win, a close win, but given that it had been about 3 months since they won, they'll take it how they can get it.
Yeah, I think definitely a huge sigh of relief. I think Troy Myers said he forgot how it felt to win. It was fun. He had a good time. The players had a good time. You saw smiles on their faces during the game, especially afterwards. So I think I asked a couple of guys what their message would be to fans who are mad about the lost chance to get a top overall pick. And Myers like, you know what? We hear the fans, but we're professionals. We play to win, and that's what we do. And Abdullah said the same thing, like, hey, man, our job is to win games, not in every week. So, I mean, no one cares about the tanking or what the fans want. So, yeah, it's good. I think, we try something for so long, you finally break through. I think it's a great feeling for not only the younger guys, like Tashan said, but also the guys who've been there for a while, the veteran guys who have been kind of trying to keep the message going, to keep the players positive, and say they were rewarded with a win.
Yeah, players don't actively try to tank, but the Jaguars, they made it a little suspicious. I mean, the way they played today was just ugly. 2 turnovers, a bunch of penalties, 22-yard punt. I don't think I've seen a 22-yard punt before. So they just wanted that top pick a little bit more than the Raiders. But yeah. But anyways, the Raiders got a win, and they were happy about it, obviously. I mean, the good news is, you saw how good Brock Bowers is. If you try to play him one-on-one like the Jaguars did, he's going to burn you. And it didn't matter who they put on him, whether it was a linebacker, nickel, safety. He was able to win that matchup. And it just shows that Bowers is a guy that teams have to try to double team moving forward. And if you could find another weapon outside of him consistently, the Raiders offense could be one that's hard to stop.
Yeah, I think we also have to give props to Aidan O'Connell. He definitely escaped pressure a few times, made plays in the run. I think he had a 13-yard run also, so definitely found Bowers after some broken plays, and that's not his strength, but I asked Pierce about it. He seems also shocked by the athleticism shown by Aidan O'Connell. So, they only scored 19 points. It's not to say the offense had a breakthrough, but they made enough plays when they had to. Bowers came up big, like you said, and Amir Abdullah had a lot of plays on that big drive. They scored the game-winning touchdown. He had like 4 touches for, I think, 36 yards. So definitely came up big as well.
Yeah, and I mean the defense, more so than offense, was really what won in this game. You mentioned forcing the 2 turnovers, and at one point I think they had 6 stops in a row. Gave up a couple touchdown drives, but I thought the defense was really good today, particularly given that they had 6 starters out, 5 of them on injured reserve, and then Nate Hobbs didn't play today due to an illness. And so the defense led the way, and they've been surging since that Chiefs game on Black Friday. I think they're the games aren't all finished yet, but last time I checked, they were 7th in scoring defense since that Chiefs game. So they really turned it around after a pretty rough start to the season. And I think considering, I know they haven't been playing the best teams outside of the Chiefs, but they did play a good offense in the Bucks, and they are without a lot of players. And so I think we've seen the most fight and success coming on that defensive side of the ball. And they kept them in it. And in the past, the offense has let them down, but they were able to do just enough to help them get over the hump in this one.
Yeah, shout out to Patrick Graham. The defense is playing well. They had a good game plan. Missing Max Crosby, but still playing hard and making plays. And the secondary is so beat up right now. I mean, they were down to 4 corners left. So if another corner or 2 got hurt, they might have to call Tashan Reed from the press box to come down and play some corner. But they still played hard. Jack Jones made a couple plays. Trayvon Morey continues to be a playmaker at the line of scrimmage. And Tashan, man, he had another really good game today. He almost had an interception from what I remember, right?
Yeah, it was a screen play.
Yeah, and a couple key pressures. He was the one who drew the holding call. At the end of the game, when the Jaguars had a chance to win, it was 4th and 1. They got a run past the first down sticks, and they got called for holding. It was Tashan that drew the holding call. So another good game for him, and he looks like a guy that could be a potential player for you next year, or a guy that could play a role for you next year.
Yeah, crazy stat, man. The Raiders are 1-11 with Max Crosby and 2-1 without him this year. So go figure. But that's just some props. You mentioned Coach Graham and the guys who kind of stepped up, and you got guys like John Jenkins had a big pass rush tonight, and the veteran guys like Adam Butler, and Lualu had a couple big pressures, a rookie undrafted. 7th-round pick. So guys are stepping up, they're taking advantage of opportunities and kind of making plays. And again, like the shots of the defense kind of set the stage. And usually, though, when they make the one big mistake like they did today, when they didn't cover Brian Thomas and they scored, they fall behind. The last 10 games, that's been it. They've been done. Where this time, actually, the offense came back, had a drive to win the game. So I have to give the offense a little bit of credit for that one as well.
Yeah, and let's talk about Aidan O'Connell. I think a lot of people, when they saw that Aidan O'Connell was going to play, especially people that were concerned about their draft position, they were like, "Oh crap!" Like he's good enough to win this game, and he was good enough to win this game. But he did it in an unconventional way. I really didn't think he was going to try to extend plays and that kind of stuff coming off a knee injury. But actually, an interesting stat is in this game, he had the highest rate of throws over 3 seconds that he's ever had in his career. So he really tried to extend plays today, and I guess it kind of worked. And it kind of shows, too, that if you could find a play extender to go with Brock Bowers, he's just a guy that I think is going to be really good at finding those open zones and finding space on the quarterback scrambles. So kind of gives you a glimpse of what can be if you find a scrambler to go with Bowers.
Yeah, what they call him in the locker room, Vic? Aiden Vic?
Jacoby called him Aiden Vic, yeah, so that's his new nickname. But a few times he made, it looked like he was going to get sacked. Like usually in the past, he's been dead to rights, but he was able to escape with some guys, and he got out of the pocket and ran for some plays, and he found Bowers. He found one of the big plays of the game was when he got out of a lot of trouble, and he found Abdullah for a great catch on the sideline. That was a huge play, which showed both guys kind of resilience. And Abdullah's, like he said today after the game, like he's kind of bided his time. He knows he's a role player and kind of let other guys get good turns, but whenever he plays, man, he does something. He has a little juice to him. I think he probably should have had a bigger role all along, I think, based on the running back room. But he's got some wiggle to him. He makes some plays, and 10-year vet looks like he's still pretty fresh.
Yeah, basically the whole offense today was when the Jaguars would play man, go to Bowers, and when they play zone and leave a bunch of space, check down to Abdullah, and he made plays.
That's a great offense. I like it.
Yeah, that's pretty much all they needed. I thought it was a pretty good game plan. The Ryan Nielsen, he just the Jaguars defensive coordinator. He just plays so much man coverage. It was just just a bunch of rub routes to create space for Brock Bowers, and then when they play zone, they drop back like 50 yards. So you just check the ball down to Abdullah.
Sometimes they misdirection play actions. I thought worked pretty well, but it's weird because we always give Scott Turner some praise because the offense looks better for sure than it did on Gatsby, but they're still not scoring points. I mean, that speaks to the The talent on the offense, I don't know, but tonight 19 points was enough. So, a win's a win.
So they got the win. Mark Davis is ecstatic. He's high-fiving people in the locker room, not quite popping champagne and smoking cigars. But what does this mean for Antonio Pierce?
It's a good question. I can see how I think he needed to win. I think to have any kind of argument to come back next year, I don't think you can lose out. I think you can't lose 13 in a row to the end of the season. And you say, well, hey, the effort was there. We didn't get blown out. That's all good and whatever. But I think to even be considered to come back, you needed to win. And maybe next week he gets two. Who knows? But so it was a big for him. He said like earlier that he and the staff and the players are all playing for their jobs. And I think tonight was a nice notch in the belt for all those guys.
Yeah, I mean, this doesn't decide it either way, but I think at least gives him a chance to keep his job going into next year. Just looking ahead a little bit, I mean, they have the Saints in New Orleans next week. It's up in the air whether Derek Carr is going to play in that game or even Alvin Kamara is going to play in that game. Chris Olave as well. So Saints are pretty banged up and don't really have much to play for. So that's a winnable game. And then they wrap up the season at home against the Chargers, who are a much better team, but kind of be interesting to see if the Chargers have anything to play for at that point. If let's say that their playoff seeding is locked in. I don't know if that would be the case because it's pretty close between them and the Broncos and some other teams in the AFC. So I don't really know how that's going to hash out. But let's say in a world, the Raiders win out, I think it would give Mark Davis something to think about just because the effort level has been consistent, and given everything that this team has had to deal with this season between the Devontae Adams trade, the quarterback shit to all the injuries on defense, firing your offensive coordinator. Like, I feel like 5 wins is probably about what you would expect for this team. Like, does that mean you bring back AP for sure? Not necessarily, but I think it's something that it's not just a immediate decision and it's a no-brainer like it would be if they had lost out the rest of the way. So I think it's a question mark. This isn't like the Chiefs game last year when they went and beat them on Christmas Day or anything like that. But it at least gives him a shot going into these last couple of games to potentially keep his job next year.
There was a stat today I saw. I think it was I don't know who tweeted out. Maybe picking them. I don't know that account, but in terms of the week 1 starters who are now in injured reserve or out for the year, the Raiders are the second most guys they've lost in terms of percentage wise. So 31.8% of their opening day starters are not playing right now, and the second highest. It's pretty amazing. Who's first? The first is the Lions, who are 31.9%. So those are the two teams that have hurt the most by injury. So definitely, there's people say it's an excuse, but yeah, the Raiders have been decimated by injuries, especially on defense.
Yeah, which is why I give a lot of props to Patrick Graham for having the defense continue to play at a high level, and I guess it does say something about Antonio Pierce that this team is they're playing hard, and we've given props for that every week. That they're playing hard despite not playing for anything, but they're playing hard. But as far as just the future for Antonio Pierce, I just think as far as the game management, it just hasn't got better. It didn't really come up today, but the way that it was trending throughout the season, it's just hard for me to want a coach that is that bad at game management when he's the CEO coach. But we've discussed this at
Is it
nauseum.
possible he could just replace the guys who do the game management stuff? Can you replace those guys and have like a new staff underneath them? Would that be enough for you or no?
I mean, is it?
Ted thought they didn't have an analytics guy for like 8 years.
I didn't even know that. It surprised me that he even had one.
Yeah,
So,
maybe he's not very good. I'm just saying. Always, I mean, think about it's a legit argument about the game management thing. He's made some mistakes this year, but he's really a first-year full-time coach, so like he's not. We're acting like he's kind of an interim coach still, but he's kind of coaching for his job. But you can still make tweaks to your staff. Usually, you have longer than 1 year to kind of. And I think maybe he can make some changes on the game management staff, or obviously the offensive staff was a mistake, but he clearly made some mistakes in the staff hiring. But maybe you give him, the benefit of the doubt and say, you know what, there were injuries. There has been a good effort. Guys are still bought in. Maybe you can make some tweaks and hire a new offensive coordinator if Scott Turner leaves and hire a new game management guy and kind of go from there. So I think there's still arguments to be made in his behalf if you're talking to Mark Davis or Mark Davis is talking to Tom Telesco about the pros and cons about why you're bringing Antonio Pierce back.
You man, you're falling
I'm
for
not falling.
the lore of this
I'm just
win.
giving you. I'm giving
You're
you the
just,
options. I'm not falling for anything. I'm just telling you. I'm giving you the possibilities because Mark's a very reactionary guy, and if they win next week, it's gonna be. I mean, he'll definitely be thinking hard about making any changes. I think.
Yeah, I mean, like if I told you at the beginning of the season the Raiders are gonna have Max Crosby, Malcolm Kuntz, Christian Wilkins, Jacorian Bennett, Marcus Epps suffer season-ending injuries, and Gardner Minshew and Aidan O'Connell are also going to get injured, and Devontae Adams is going to ask for a trade after 4 games, what do you think their record would be? Like, what would be your prediction?
Like I said, I don't think it's a record. I just think it's
I
the
mean-
way they've lost games. I feel like if you're coached, you cannot be the direct reason why your team is
Exactly.
losing.
I
And I
mean,
feel like
you can say.
I mean, I think he's one of the reasons, but I mean, he definitely needs to get better at the game
Yeah,
management stuff.
no
That's his
arguing
biggest
that.
weakness as a coach, for sure. But he's not the primary reason they're losing these games. They're losing these games because they suck and like half their players.
I'm not saying I'm saying that his decisions have been impactful.
Yeah.
When your best offensive player walks in week 4 after a win, says, "You know what? I'm out of here. I'm done." That's a very unique circumstance to deal with as a head coach. That's something that you can ever predict would happen. Like you're going to lose your main weapon on offense at that point. I mean, I think it's a lot to overcome, but and they haven't done it until today. But we got 2 games left, and I think if they finish strong, it could get tricky for those who want Pierce out.
All right, let's talk about the tank update. The
It's over.
Raiders drop all the way down to number 6,
Yeah.
I believe, after the win
6.
today. So right now is Giants number 1, Patriots number 2, Jaguars number 3, Titans 4, Browns 5, and Raiders 6. It's a big drop off.
Giants are locked in. They want that pick badly. I mean, Drew Lock is not your guy, but Drew Lock is blissfully unaware of pass rushers around him. So I think as long as he plays, the Giants are looking pretty.
Yeah, I mean, like the tough teams that are ahead of them are the Giants, of course, at number 1, the Titans at 4, and then the Browns at 5, just because those are 3 teams that you would have to imagine are going to at least explore, quarterbacks, if not for sure take quarterbacks. I guess the bright side of it is that you have teams like the Patriots and the Jaguars ahead of the Titans and Browns. So if you are looking to potentially trade up for a quarterback, let's say if the Patriots finish with the 2nd overall pick, maybe you could offer them, I don't know, 2-3 first-round picks to go up and get whoever your guy is that the Giants don't take. And we'll see how the rest of these results shake out the rest of the year. This order is probably not going to be the final order, but there's still like that glimmer of hope there for them to potentially trade up and get their guy, whether that's Shadur Sanders or Cam Ward or whoever it may be. So they aren't completely out of it. They just made it more expensive for them to get one if they're going to get
I like that. Like the Patriots, yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, it is expensive, and I just don't know if any of these guys are worth like trading 2 or 3 first-round picks to go get one of them.
I mean, my thing is like if a guy is worth the number 1 overall pick, then he's worth trading 2 or 3 first-round picks. It's like either you're sold on the guy or you're not. Like if you're not, that's fine. Like organizationally, you have to be sold on the guy to draft him that high, but then you just shouldn't have taken him anyway, even if you did have the number 1 overall pick. So they have to get to a point where one of these quarterbacks, they believe he can be the starter for 10 plus year franchise guy. And if they don't get there, then it's time to do something else. And that decision might be made for them based on them being behind right now 3 quarterback needy teams. But I don't think that should stop you. Like if you let's say I don't know, let's say Cam Ward, they're like, I think he's our guy. Like he's going to be our starter moving forward. If it takes 2-3 first-round picks, you got to do it. I mean, they've blown more picks than that on worst players in the last 5 years. And I just don't think this franchise is going to be headed in a positive direction, particularly in this division and in this conference as a whole, until they get their guy quarterback. And I just don't see it coming through free agency or the trade market. Like, is Kirk Cousins going to be, like I just don't really know what else they like. And you can't run it back just with Aidan O'Connell and Gardner Minshew. So like you got to do something. So I just think like at some point you got to pull the trigger, unless you just absolutely are like, these quarterbacks suck. Like none of these guys are going to be starters. Like we just don't believe in any of them.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. I mean, I still haven't gone really broke down to all 22. But just on the first look and listening to guys I respect, like Dane Burglar, talk about these quarterbacks, and it's just not a very great class. But we'll see. The scouting process is the long one, and yeah. Number 6 is not the worst position to be at for sure, but
let's go down. It's gonna be worse than that. It'll be like 15 by the time they're done.
Oh, Vic, you giving bad vibes.
Good vibes.
Saying the Raiders. No, according to the fan base, I mean, I've never seen such a negative reaction to a win in my fucking life. Like,
Oh, dude.
like if you scroll up the replies,
Y'all,
it's like you would think like they just got blown out by 40.
all excited about, man. It was like Christmas. You think you're getting a big brand new bike for Christmas, and you go downstairs and it's fucking socks and pajamas. Like, what the fuck is this? That's what Raider fans right now. They're getting pajamas again. Sorry, Raider fans.
Shouts to Juan Salazar. He points out the Titans and Jaguars play next week, so you guys should be rooting for the Titans so they win and get out your way.
Juan Salazar.
So, there you go. Yep, it's my guy.
All right. Well, Patriots won't need a quarterback. Giants.
Or
Patriots and Jaguars are the two teams you don't have to worry about. So.
Or you have to.
The Raider Nation needs your guy Drew Lock to heat up, man.
That's not going to happen. So you just need to like root around. You need to root around the Giants because they're not.
No,
winning
Giants
the
are
game
dead
the
done.
season. It's over.
They clearly have no interest.
Yeah.
Winning again.
All right. Well, that's all we have for you guys today. Thank you for joining us. I know it was a tough game for some of you Raider fans to watch, but I mean it was a win, and the Raiders. The team was happy. Mark Davis was happy. Again, Raiders aren't in terrible position. It's not ideal, but not terrible.
The name of our show, the Just Win podcast, man. They just won. That's it.
Yeah,
just got to win. All right, guys. Thanks for joining, and we will talk to you guys on Friday.
Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays, guys.
Okay.
Guys, you got the gift of a nice win to celebrate.
Yeah, man. Be fucking happy. Act like you got a sack of coal or something, asshole. It's like won a game for you.
Pajamas.
The 5th pick is a sack of coal, man. You thought you were getting the first pick, and then you got a sack of coal. But it's all right. Have a Merry Christmas.
Pajamas wow, they're comfortable. They can just keep you warm at night. Pajamas. All right, y'all. Hasta la vista.
All right, y'all. Peace.